Thanks for coming today. Today we're going to be announcing the arrest in Monday's abduction and sexual assault case in Chantilly. First speaking up will be Chief Kevin Davis, and then we will have some comments on the case from Lieutenant Weeks.
Thank you, Katie, and good morning, everyone. Thanks for coming out. Three women in Northern Virginia, two in Fairfax County and one in Loudoun County, over the last couple of months were traumatized as victims in sexual batteries. They were bold, they were brazen, they were in broad daylight. They're disturbing cases by someone who absolutely was not going to stop until we caught them. And I use the pronoun we to include the community because we wouldn't be making this announcement today if not for the community stepping forward with their Ring doorbells, with their phone calls, with their interactions with the Fairfax County Police Department. It was a all-hands-on-deck effort to identify this predator, and that's exactly what he is, this predator, and stop him before he harms someone else. We're going to talk in a little bit and encourage anyone else who has information about this person who has not yet reported a sexual assault or an attempted abduction to contact us and tell us your story as well, because we think there may be more than three victims. But these three victims, by no means should have been subject to this type of sexual assault and attempt abductions. The first one occurred back on May 10th, and Lieutenant Weeks is going to go through the details at Northern Virginia Community College in Loudoun County. The second one occurred in Fairfax County and Chantilly on May 18th. And if you remember that May 18th case, our victim was able to work with our sketch artists and our detectives from Major Crimes, and we put together a sketch. And this sketch, I believe, is in your media packages, but that sketch ultimately proved extremely beneficial to this investigation. And I'll let you all make your own determinations when you see the booking photo of our now defendant, who's being held on a no bond status at the Adult Detention Center, right where he belongs, and the sketch. The third one happened on July 3rd in Chantilly as well. The same community, the Meadows of Chantilly, same community, broad daylight. Woman walking down the street in a residential community is grabbed from behind. She was the victim of a sexual battery, and our defendant, 20-year-old Hin Din, and his spelling is in your packages, 20-year-old Hin Din grabbed her from behind, sexually assaulted her, and then attempted to abduct her. And thankfully, our victim screamed. Her mother was nearby, heard the screams, and was able to intervene and prevent that abduction from going through. So we're happy to announce, one, we're satisfied. We're not happy about any of this. Let me say that. But we are certainly satisfied that all of our collective efforts, patrol officers, detectives, our fugitive squad, everyone who has been all hands on deck looking for this true bad guy, this true predator, who can only not harm people, I believe, if he's incarcerated, if he's behind bars. I don't know what you do with a person like this besides incarcerate him, because he's going to offend again and again and again. Hin Din, 20 years old, he's from Stafford County, Virginia. One count of sexual battery, one count of abduction with the intent to defile. We anticipate more criminal charges in the future. We know that the Northern Virginia Community College Police Department is still actively working their May 10th case. We're still actively working both our May 18th case and our July 3rd case. So I'm going to turn it over to Lieutenant Weeks. She's going to add some details, and then we'll answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Chief. First, I want to say thank you to the detectives, the patrol officers, the crime analyst, and the victim services personnel that assisted with this horrendous case. Our investigation first began on May 18th when the suspect broke into the victim's apartment house, and she bravely fought him off and was able to free herself before the suspect fled. That was our first involvement with the suspect. We have since been working diligently on that case. On July 3rd, the suspect struck again On Monday, a little after 11:30 in the morning, in the 14,500 block of Northeast Place, the suspect struck again, as I said. He approached the victim where he violently grabbed her intimate parts before placing her in a chokehold and then fleeing the area when the mother came and she screamed. Over the past several days, our officers, detectives, and professional staff have focused all of their time and attention on this case. Detectives quickly found surveillance footage of the suspect coming into the neighborhood and leaving the neighborhood, which was disseminated to officers regionally as well as locally and to the community. As we continue to review surveillance footage from the area, detectives located a suspicious car that appeared to be following the victim in a nearby shopping center. We believe the vehicle could be related and began to pursue that lead. Detectives' dedication and commitment paid off because yesterday afternoon, detectives located that vehicle off of Stonecroft Boulevard in an industrial park. They quickly called the fugitive track and apprehension team, who responded and waited patiently for the suspect to exit the building. As he entered his vehicle, the suspect, Hin Din, was taken into custody, and he has since been charged with abduction with the intent to defile and sexual battery. We are still asking the community for any information. If you recognize his name, the vehicle, anything about the case, if you've been a victim yourself, if you know of a victim yourself, please call us at 703-246-7800. And with that, we'll take any questions.
How were you guys able to tie him to the two previous cases? Was it additional surveillance video? Was it the same vehicle spotted? What was it?
So for the May 10th case with Nova Police Department, we were able to tie him to that case through surveillance footage. With our May 18th case, we are still actively investigating that case. We do have leads to follow up on, and we are confident that we will be able to charge.
What makes you guys think that there might be other victims out there? Is there something in his track record, his criminal records? What exactly is leading you guys to think that there might possibly be other victims?
Well, he's a predator. There's no doubt about it. He acted. He's unable to control his inhibitions, and we know that sometimes crime victims, particularly crime victims who are victimized with sexual battery, don't always report the crime when it happens for a variety of reasons. They're scared. They're embarrassed. They don't want to go through the real tough journey of being a victim in the criminal justice system, although we think that we in Fairfax County, with our Victim Services Division, offer a support mechanism that's world-class for our victims. But there's a lot of different reasons why a victim, a woman who's a victim of a sexual assault, wouldn't come forward initially. So we want to say out loud that it's okay. And if you've had any contact with him, and if you believe a crime occurred and you were that victim that we don't know about yet, we want to put it out there that we want you to contact with us, and we want to help you, and we want to do all that we can to make sure that this predator is held accountable for his vicious crimes, so that he never ever returns to the community again, because this type of predator keeps doing what he does until he's caught. And we just suspected that his acts were continuing to get more and more brazen, returning to the same community and in broad daylight, approaching victims with other pedestrians nearby in relative plain view. So he was absolutely public enemy number one, and thankfully, thanks to Ring Doorbell, thanks to our sketch artists, thanks to the dedication of our cops and our detectives who really put everything else aside, and they were out scouring the community. And we wouldn't have found this car if not for the proactive nature of the way we responded to these series of assaults. So we think that he's special, and he's special, and he's not special in a good way. And he deserves the full time and attention of our entire criminal justice system to make sure he never gets out. Derek?
Did there seem to be any common characteristic of his victims, or was it just opportunity?
It was just opportunity at this point. We do have footage of him following our July 3rd victim throughout the shopping center as she walked, as well as that is consistent with the May 10th case with Nova Police Department, where he was seen following that victim as well for a period of time.
And then Chief, if you don't like this kind of question, when talking about previous history or criminal background, was there anything, previous charges prior to this, anything in his history that may allude to this type of behavior?
Well, thanks for the preamble, Matt, and you know I'm not going to answer that, and you know I'm probably going to tell you all that I know you can find out the nature, if any, of the defendant's criminal history. But thanks for the question.
Is
Bob.
the police,
I'm sorry, Matt.
is the police department working with other departments in the jurisdiction to check back on other systems?
Yeah, absolutely we are. And you know, the work we did with the Northern Virginia Community College Police Department, one of the detectives who is working their case is a retired Fairfax County detective, actually recently retired. So that's an existing relationship. The police departments in the Northern Virginia region enjoy a really healthy collaborative relationship. So we know that all the departments around us are looking at their unsolved sexual battery, sexual assault, attempt abduction cases, looking at our video, looking at our sketch, talking to our detectives to see what else we can connect him to. But what we have him connected to right now is awful, and it's vicious, and we're glad we caught him, Bob.
Chief, two things on this. So the vehicle was spotted in a parking lot while he was supposedly following this woman who he eventually did attack in the neighborhood on Monday, is that correct?
No. Okay.
That's what I hit you.
Detectives, after having about a day after, as they're scouring through the video, the hours of video that they had to look through, located a vehicle that looked suspicious in nature. At that point, they were able to point out that the suspect had parked in a nearby shopping center, and at that point exited his vehicle and began to follow the victim. That's the connection with the vehicle.
Got you. Second thing is, has he said anything since his arrest about what he was doing, why he was doing it, admitting his culpability?
So it's ongoing right now, but he has confessed, and he is continuing to interact with our detectives. Any other questions?
Questions on other topics?
Well, I'm going to beat you to the punch, Bob. We're going to talk about the murder last night. Anything on this arrest of Hindin first before we go to that? So last night, let me make sure I got everything straight. Last night, we arrested and charged 40-year-old Major Stokes. His first name is Major, M-A-J-O-R, last name Stokes, 40 years old. We charged Major Stokes with a second-degree murder and the use of a handgun in the commission of a felony because he murdered his longtime friend / associate Robert Fisher, 37 years old, last night in the McNair neighborhood of our Fair Oaks district. Some type of dispute occurred. The investigation is ongoing. We're not ready to speak about the exact nature of that dispute, but a dispute nonetheless that led to Major Stokes shooting and killing Robert Fisher. Robert Fisher, our victim in this case, his daughter was nearby, heard the shots. She was the first to call 911, and shortly thereafter, our shooter, Major Stokes, called 911 himself and made admissions to the 911 call taker that he was involved in the shooting of his associate. So our patrol officers responded to the area, ultimately recognized this defendant, Major Stokes, as someone that they knew, went to a location where they suspected he went to after he shot and killed our victim, and safely and without incident took him into custody. So the circumstances are kind of still being sorted out right now. It was just a few hours ago. I'll say this before I turn it over to Lieutenant Weeks for any details that I left out. We have not yet recovered the gun in that case, so we're still active in the community looking for places where the gun may have been discarded, thrown, ditched. Anyone who has any information about the whereabouts of that gun, we're encouraging them to call and speak with our detectives as well. But I'll ask Lieutenant Weeks to fill in some blanks there, and then we can take questions about that case.
I think the chief covered most of the details. It was great police work by the Fair Oaks District and the Reston officers, not only responding to the initial call, but also to apprehending Mr. Stokes almost immediately. We are still looking for the handgun, as the chief said. If anybody is in the area and they come across it, please call us, call 911 ASAP, and that way an officer can respond out. He has been charged with second-degree murder as well as use of a firearm in the commission of a felony.
How old is the daughter, and did they live around there? I guess, why were they there?
She is a juvenile, and they do live in that area.
Bob, any other questions?
Yeah, the organized theft ring from over the weekend, what can you share with us about that? It's a guy from Virginia and another one from New York.
Yeah, great case, great coverage. Local media interest in that was significant. We certainly noticed an uptick in shoplifting incidents throughout Fairfax County in 2023. In fact, there are 20 exact addresses, 20 in Fairfax County that equate for 20% of our overall crimes in Fairfax County. So we know that we have to do more and more and continue to be even more collaborative than we are. And we think we're pretty collaborative to begin with the business community to stop this uptick in shoplifting and thefts that is occurring not only in Fairfax County, but in the entire region. So our summer crime initiative focus is on organized retail crime, organized retail thefts. And I think the most recent example of an arrests that we made had to do with two folks from out of town who were coming here, staying in a nearby hotel, and they were pillaging stores in the region and taking the stolen merchandise back to their hotel room. We have a long-standing commitment to working with our business community, with our retailers. We know how much retail means to the residents, not only in Fairfax County, but in the entire National Capital Region. People come to Fairfax County, number one, because they feel safe. Number two, because we have so much to offer, not just in terms of retail, but entertainment and restaurants. And it's just a great place to live and visit and work. So, we realize the commitment that we have to make, not just as a police department, but as a county government, to make sure that we send a strong message that if you come to Fairfax County and you're organized, like most of these boosters are now organized. I feel like I have to say this. We're not talking about a kid who shoplifts a candy bar from a 7-Eleven. We're not talking about that. What we're talking about are adults, young adults, who are organized. They have theft schemes. They work in concert with one another to distract employees, and they steal large quantities of expensive merchandise. And sometimes they just walk into the store and grab what they want and leave. And that's totally unacceptable. So we remain committed to identifying those folks, because these are not victimless crimes. These are not just property crimes. And it's not okay just to pass that along as something the consumer can deal with down the road. These crimes are often committed by people who are involved in violent crimes and other crimes. They're very transient. And they have to be held just as accountable as we hold any other group or persons involved in criminal misconduct. So we're committed to it. We saw some good reductions in overall retail theft in the month of June because of our enhanced commitment, but we've got a long way to go. We work with the retail community. We actually held a meeting with them recently. We're shoulder to shoulder in our commitment to identify these groups, and particularly looking forward to using, if we already haven't used, the new law that allows us to identify with probable cause groups that act in concert with one another in an organized way to pull off these large-scale thefts. So there's a new law in Virginia that we're going to take advantage of. It makes it a felony to engage in these organized efforts to rip off our retailers and to make our residents feel unsafe when they're shopping in their community.
One more thing.
Of course, but
The speed camera program here in Fairfax County, it's been pretty active, although I believe that everywhere there've been a lot of violations, but in terms of ticketing, you're still hoping to get just more enhanced cameras.
well, I've been around automated speed and automated traffic enforcement for a long time on the other side of the Potomac River. So the reason why Fairfax County has embraced automatic traffic enforcement, particularly when it comes to speed, is because we know through data and research that automated traffic enforcement absolutely does change driving behaviors. It just does. So that is the number one priority when it comes to the automated traffic enforcement, automated speed enforcement, red light commitment that Fairfax County is now making. We want to change driving behaviors. And so far this year, we're halfway through the year, so we got a long way to go. Our overall crashes in Fairfax County are down significantly. Our fatal crashes are down significantly. And our pedestrian fatal crashes are down dramatically. So whether or not that's just a flash in the pan, I don't know yet, but it seems like we have some momentum, some wind behind us in terms of traffic safety. It was just a couple months ago where one of our police officers was making a traffic stop and a teenage driver careened going 129 miles an hour on the Fairfax County Parkway, and by the grace of God, didn't kill our police officer and the motorist who was stopped on the traffic stop. So we committed ourselves and remain committed to traffic enforcement initiatives. We were really productive with a 50 means 50 campaign that we did in the county, and we've at least tripled the number of traffic citations we've issued in 2023 versus 2022. So the things that people tell us they care about: speed, traffic, congestion, aggressive driving, theft. All those things are all part of what public safety means to the community. I know we talk about murders, and they're important to talk about, and they're important to hold people accountable who engage in these activities. But it's also equally important to identify people who create chaos in our communities, particularly in our business communities and our residential communities. So we're committed to doing all of it, and we think that ultimately, because we're steadfast in our commitment, that we're going to get to a better place. Anybody else? Okay, thank you all.
Thank you, everyone, for coming out today. We will be updating our blog with both of these items. And if you want to take a look at the information on the retail theft and our initiative that we did last month on that, all the data and information is there on our blog. You can follow us on Twitter for any more updates today. Thank you.
We'll get this electronically soon, is that right?
Yeah, so you can scan it.